Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If you keep on the sunny side of life.
I will look to the hills. I will look to the hills. Where my strength, where my strength, where my strength comes from. I will look to the hills. I will look to the hills, where my strength, where my strength, where my strength comes from. From the Lord is where my strength comes from. From the Lord is where my strength comes from. Hey, thank you for watching this midweek message. It's really an important message today. I want to talk to you about how to stay healthy for the rest of this pandemic. It's going to be really important for you to pay attention. You know, the word I want to talk about tonight is prudence. It's kind of an old word. It was sometimes even used as a name. Prudence is a rare name nowadays. We actually have a lot of things, we've attached some things to it that are not very positive. But it comes with a great concept, especially in times like this. I remember a family, I grew up in a big family, and we had other big families that we were associated with. And one of those families had a couple of boys, and they decided one time that they wanted to climb Mount St. Helens. This is back in the day before the eruption. And they came by our cabin at Spirit Lake, and they asked us what we ought to do, and we told them all kinds of things. You know, you need to do this, and be careful to do this, and make sure you take this stuff. And we said, you know, you need to make sure you prepare, because you don't know what's going to necessarily happen. These are the conditions that are up there. Be sure you take an extra coat. Be sure you take a raincoat just in case the weather gets bad. We told them to bring a pack. And we told them that it's very, very important that they bring flashlights, that they bring gloves, that they bring, in case they get something goes wrong and they get turned around, that they bring a light along with them. And that was really important because, you don't always know what's going to happen. In other words, prudence was this idea that we were saying to them, be prudent about this. Well, they didn't. And they just stopped by, so we didn't really know what their plans were. But we did hear, our cabin was about 4 miles from the base of the mountain. We did hear later, we heard helicopters. We heard all kinds of, back in those days, you have to remember there were no phones or cell phones back in the day. And so we didn't really know what was going on, but it turned out they were looking for them, and they had looked for them that whole day, that night, and they were looking for them. They didn't come down, and late the next day, these guys walked in. They didn't even drive in. They walked in to our cabin, and they they were just a mess. Their legs looked like they were all lacerated and torn up, and one of them had a makeshift splint on his leg, and they had gone up to the summit, and they didn't get all the way to the top, but then it got late in the day because they started later than they planned. They didn't have any ropes. They didn't have any. They had tennis shoes on. We told them to wear good boots. They had shorts on and t-shirts. It was just going to be a little hike. They got stuck out overnight in a rock formation about 8,000 feet in elevation, super cold. No way to make a fire, no lights. And they eventually found their way back down to our cabin. They literally walked through the trees, just kind of stumbled their way down. And of course, we got a hold of everybody, and they got helped, and they survived it. But it was a wonder that they didn't get killed. They had rocks rolling down on them because they went at the wrong time of day. You see, this happened to them because they just wouldn't listen. They would not take seriously. And of course, there were people that could do that and get away with it, but they were not the ones that did it. They were not prudent. They didn't pack any precautions or take any precautions. The Bible talks a lot about this. This is a Bible truth. You strip away all the opinions out there. Prudence is a biblical principle. Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple goes on and suffers for it." This is a very clear Bible principle. You see, this is repeated because it's so important. Proverbs 27:12 says, "The prudent sees danger and hides himself." You take responsibility. Nobody does it for you. You see it and you hide yourself. But the simple goes on and suffers for it. Sometimes things happen to us that we could have done something about, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about avoidable losses. But God leaves it up to you. You can't just pray about it. You've got to listen and respond. Because if you pray about things and then you don't listen and respond, and you just pray God gets you through it, no matter how much prudence you lack, God doesn't honor that. The word prudent means to be wise, but not just wise, but in a subtle way. To do it in a way that is, you've done your homework. It's not really recognizable. You've prepared so well that it's obvious. It's not really obvious by what you're saying. It's obvious by what you're doing. And it says the prudent person sees danger. Sees this. This word "sees" means that you take counsel. You take advice. As a matter of fact, it literally comes from a Hebrew word which means you advise yourself by discernment. That's what it means. The word "sees" in this passage means you advise yourself by discernment. You take that advice, you listen. And he says, when you do that, you cover yourself. Some translations will say you remove yourself from danger. I think that I've told you this over and over again, that a very clear way that you can see danger and cover yourself, the word literally says the prudent person sees danger and hides himself. Did you know the Hebrew word literally means to cover? I have thought about this a lot. One of the ways that I can see danger and cover myself is by covering myself with a face covering. A lot of you you might even try one of these. I do this when I'm backpacking. I'll wear one of these because I can just pull it up, and I'm outdoors and I'm moving past people. It's not the best way to do it, but it's better than nothing at all. You see, the prudent person, the person who makes wisdom. Wisdom is built into their way of thinking and how they evaluate things. They cover themselves when they see danger. But the opposite, and so let me ask this, are you prudent? Have you been being prudent? Have you been being prudent on the way you've been handling this pandemic? Have you been making, this is what's happened to people that have told me over and over again. And I'm getting calls about people who are sick and friends of people, from people whose friends are sick. And they will say, look, we got a little bit careless, or we didn't take precautions, and they got sick. Are you being prudent? Because this affects more than you. This idea, the opposite is also true. The simple go on as though things are normal. They just go on as normal. And you know what happens when you do that? You're going to suffer for it. You're going to suffer for it. You might not suffer, but somebody else may suffer for it. This is what they call a self-inflicted penalty. The prudent sees and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. It says it over and over again. Watch out. Don't make exceptions to this. This is not about politics. This is not about, some takeover. This is about you being prudent. When you bring danger on yourself, you will bring danger on other people. We have, Dr. Mack and all of our physicians and all of our medical people. This is their message to us over and over again. They went to medical school for a huge portion of their life and practiced this for a reason. They know what they're talking about. 350,000 Americans have died. This is a real danger. And many, many hundreds of thousands of other people have been really sick. And so, especially in these next couple months, it's going to be really important that you're prudent. It's very important that you do this. And when people around you, they choose to not be prudent, or they tell you should just carry on as normal and not worry about it. The Bible's definition for that? They're being simple. The simple will go on and suffer for it. Sadly, with this crisis we're in, not just they will suffer, but others will. Literally, did you know the word simple in Hebrew? It says silly. And hasn't a lot of this seemed silly? The word in Hebrew, pethe, or pethai, literally to be seducible. That means you're easily led astray. You're easily fooled. You are simple. Many of you know people who have been seduced by other people. They maybe were seduced oftentimes by well-meaning people, maybe people they knew, but people who had uninformed opinions. Others have been seduced by false prophets or ambitious political or media personalities for their own agendas. And they've been just kind of lulled into this idea that, it's no big deal. But remember what it says, Proverbs 27:12. The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. You need to see. You need to use your discernment. You need to listen and take advice, and you need to cover yourself. There is a God-sized difference between somebody who says they're fearless and somebody who's just being foolish. Being fearless means that you are, the Bible tells us there's some things you need to take serious and hide yourself. You cover yourself because you see danger and you avoid it. So you be prudent. You cover yourself. And as much as possible, remove yourself from danger. The health and life of your loved ones and you will depend on it, especially in these next few months. Don't be simple. Don't be seducible. Don't just give in to people because it would be easier to do that. It would make you more money. It would be less inconvenient. It would be emotionally. I know the emotional pull. This is hard. But make sure you take good advice from people who are trained and trustworthy. Call your doctor. Talk to people that you believe are level-headed. Some people, they're always off on some tangent. They've got a conspiracy theory going for almost everything, and that you can almost dependably rely on no matter what it is, they're going to be off on something. You don't be that person. You don't be seducible. And I'm praying for you. I really am. I love you, and I'm your pastor, and I'm praying for your health and your safety. And you know what? I'm also praying for your witness of unselfish love. That's so important. Thank you for watching. And if you'd like to join my Zoom meeting, you can get the details down at the bottom. Remember, the prudent person, the prudent individual, that's what you need to be. The prudent sees danger. You see it. You're willing to look at it and hides himself. But the simple go on and suffer for it.